Hello, welcome to my little weekly chat. My guest today is Barbara Palermo, and she has not only adopted one of my rescue dogs, Marilyn, last year, but she also moved from America to Sicily during the pandemic. It only took 16 years to organize this trip, let's say. We'll learn details about it, but she is the author of the book that tells us the story, a book that is called Over the Sicilian Moon. And the book doubles as a manual, which means that if you're planning to move to Sicily with or without getting citizenship, or let's say Southern Italy, anytime soon, her tips in there, that is the laws that apply, you know, the offices that you need to go to, etc., would certainly be of help to you. And Barbara, didn't you tell me that you wished you had had your book when you were planning the move?
Oh, I would have been grateful for any information. We didn't know anything, and there were very few resources back then. So it was definitely a struggle to learn it all.
It was a struggle because you started thinking, I'm going to get my Italian citizenship, right? And then you started thinking, oh, we might move to Italy. So the different steps of the move really happened very organically and over a long enough spread amount of time, so that the planning also was sort of catching up with your the planning details was catching up with your impulses, and the fact that you were then studying the option and deciding to go for it, etc. So it's sort of like, it's not like someone who's sitting in New York right now and going like, okay, I'm going to work online, I'm going to move to Sicily, and how do I do this? And sits down and goes like, plan. Sort of, it happened very organically. So part of the length of time was not just the many issues you encountered, but it was also the fact that you were literally sort of diving into this plan slowly, very slowly, correct?
It was, yes, it just sort of evolved. In fact, a lot of it just seems like it was meant to be, because we would accomplish one milestone and then another opportunity would come, and we just sort of followed the path that was being laid out in front of us. And one thing led to another, and before you know it, I mean, it's not like we set out 16 years ago to move to Sicily. That, not at all. It just little by little, piano, it happened.
It happened, and you're happy it happened. You're happy to be in Sicily right now.
We are so thrilled. We're still pinching ourselves. We just can't believe it, especially when we get off the phone with our friends in America and hear what's going on there. We're just like, oh, we're so grateful that we're not part of that anymore.
I hear you. It's you know what is really incredible is that when you learned about the possibility of getting Italian citizenship, which you hadn't considered, you didn't know about, in 2004, which wasn't even your idea. It came from left field, and everyone needs to read the book to learn about how this funny thing happened. But basically, you sort of fell into the idea of moving because of what? Because of what happened in your life and what happened in America that sort of pushed you to consider moving to Italy. What was it really that?
Well, there was two different major events. One was a chance encounter with a stranger that told us about dual citizenship, and at that time, that was all that was on my radar, was just to maybe look into getting dual citizenship. And I didn't know what I would do with that, but I was curious. So I discovered that I qualified, and I pursued that. It was years later when after I had citizenship and I came to Sicily for the first time and met my long lost relatives. I have like 30 cousins here I never knew about. That changed my life tremendously. It was after that we started thinking about living here.
So you could say maybe that moving to Sicily was provoked or was caused by the fact that you met people, your relatives, whom you felt very warmly welcomed by, and you felt interested in knowing more about, and sort of that got the idea going. Yeah.
Yeah, that got the idea going. That made it real, but it was also the fact, even if I hadn't met my cousins, it still may have happened, because I felt, we just, like everybody says, you fall in love with Sicily. You can't help it. Over the moon in love. So I fell in love with Sicily and my cousins.
And your cousin. Okay, yes, so it was really both. It was really both.
It was really both. I just felt more at home here.
And what was the ultimate push out of America? Not just obviously the materialistic considerations of the advantages as a retired person of maybe stretching more of your pension and the fact that you were getting free healthcare or partially free healthcare, whatever the reality is in Italy, right? But let's call it free healthcare. I mean, there were all these considerations, but there's also the fact that in America the climate was shifting, right? And that contributed as well.
Yes. Things were changing rapidly there, and not so much in a good way. But I wouldn't say that our reason for moving here was primarily political. I mean, that's an added benefit. We are happy. We didn't know when we initiated this plan that things in America were going to get worse, or we would have come regardless. We came because we fell in love with Sicily and my cousins, and we really couldn't think of a place in America. We were starting to get of a retirement age, and it had never dawned on us, where would we retire here? Where can we afford here? And where do we like here? And really came up with nothing. So that was part of it too.
Which you can imagine how it sounds to your cousins in Sicily, right?
Yes.
Did they ever get you? Did they ever give you any feedback about that? Sort of like, why? I mean, we would.
Yes, they're very surprised, and everybody we meet here is very surprised. They are just completely shocked that anyone would move here to Sicily from America. I mean, in their minds, it's like, why would you do that? And we keep telling them, oh, you have no idea. It's so much better here.
Well, I think it's a very huge favor and a service you're almost doing to Sicilians or anyone like you who is moving to Sicily permanently, because in this age of migration where people move and are looking for a better life or are running away from problems, unlivable conditions, etc. There is the hope, there is an image, there is an idea of what it is that we're going to find wherever it is that we find our destination to be. But does it always pan out? Does it always match what's going on over there? Do we discover it later? So in my case, I moved from America to Sicily, but I was warned that Sicily was really tough and I should think about it a number of times. But in a way, I wish I had known what I was gonna find. And I'm pretty sure that some of the information that is in your book is of, invaluable, is going to be of invaluable help to whoever it is who's planning to move to Southern Italy. So some people in your reviews were writing about how you're not a professional writer, but that also makes it a funnier read even, which is what I found as well. I found it to be totally natural and flowing and totally not contrived and witty at times. I mean, just incredible. And I'm going to read some examples of what I found witty here and there. But also, there were people who were saying, and these were mostly Americans, I think, who were saying they were not so happy about the book because it was too political. And I thought that it was not political at all. I mean, besides mentioning that in America, the climate was sort of turning in a direction that wasn't making it, super friendly. I mean, with all the issues that we all know and witness every day and hear about. I mean, you're not going into any detail. You're not even.
No, it's not political at all.
Really not.
Yeah. One reviewer said, I don't know why these people have commented about her political views. They said, I read the whole book and there was literally 2 sentences that mentioned politics.
You know what I think? Sorry for interrupting you. And in a bit, I'm going to translate this into a time. But what I think is that because of the radicalization and polarization of politics in America, Americans who would otherwise just be social media trolls, because of what happened with Trump, mixing politics and social media trolling and radicalizing and polarizing things even more than before. Now you have what I call twolls, which is a mix of a twat and a troll. And it's basically someone who's stupid, someone who's obnoxious, someone who doesn't understand anything, but is using this new vocabulary, this new channel, which Trump inaugurated, which is to, as soon as they're encountering views that they don't like, and it doesn't matter whether it's in a private book that is telling a private story that is just mentioning fact and that is treading very lightly on the argument, just basically skirting it, that's all. But they'll call it political, because being political, if you're writing, if you're doing something artistic or entertainment, or even being a documentarian, when you're just documenting fact, calling someone political just basically is, sort of means a thing on its own already. It's almost half an insult, and it doesn't mean anything. It's like wrong vocabulary. What they really mean is, I don't like your views, but I'm totally chicken, and I'm not going to say I don't like your views because I'm on the team of I like smelly socks. And so because you're saying you don't like smelly socks, I'm just going to call you political because you just offended my team of I like smelly socks. Instead of saying I don't like them, you like them. We're
good analogy. Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just sort of like it's like a replacement. It's like a new sort of quick sort of way to get rid of an attack, and it's like a myth of this new sort of language on social media that has sort of now that is that is going over into all kinds of other places, like comments on bookshops. I mean, this is ridiculous. So sorry for the rant.
That's okay.
But I was really, but you know why I'm all worked up about it? Because Stanley Tucci got the same comments about his
I saw that.
Yeah, episode on Sicily, but even others on Italy, that because it's CNN clearly, and it's just too political, and they didn't like the way that he portrayed Sicily because he didn't show any cannoli. And he talked about the immigrations and the migrants, and I just think he's just first of all, it's his show, and number two, he's just really documenting the reality of Sicilians who are living through it, and it's all beautiful, and it's really beautiful. He only mentions beautiful things about the cultural interchange and exchange, and it's he always managed to put a nice spin. So let's talk about nice spins. You're going through hell basically as you're trying to move to Sicily, and as you're trying to get your citizenship, your husband's citizenship, and you always find the silver lining in anything that happens, no matter how frustrating, how much of an obstacle. Can you think of one such episode that is really the epitome of that, which was really, really bad, but all of a sudden it dawned on you, wait, silver lining, what was it?
Oh, I would say that once we made the decision to move here, every single thing that we did every single day had to make us get a little bit closer to our goal. And that thing could have just been an inch closer to our goal. Not a giant step, not a mile, but even an inch. So whether it was, okay, today I sold something I didn't need, I'm downsizing. I sold something I didn't need on Craigslist, and I put 20 bucks in my Go to Sicily savings. Any little thing. Sometimes it was nothing more than learning one more, new Italian vocabulary word. Or a lot of times, we relied on this silly game I call it paper dolling. It's in the book, where you vision the future. I even made a dream board with little pictures cut out of magazines to envision my future life and help it materialize.
Yes, so your spirit, is amazing. It's all throughout the book. It peppers the story. So you start in Oregon. And you're going about your daily jobs, and all of a sudden this idea, right, of the citizenship, and then at some point, okay, the decision, we liked our first stay in Sicily, we're going to move there, we're going to start looking towards moving there, and then the plan literally starts to get fleshed out and put into action. So it's about selling everything you own, including your home, just keeping the things that you'll need, and when you go back to Sicily, at some point you find your dream home. And the story of what you went through to be able to buy it, and someone who hasn't gone through it can't understand. They're thinking, what, Sicily is economically needy. Someone shows up, has the money, has the funds or the mortgage, which that's a whole other funny story as well. Getting an Italian mortgage as a new citizen. But basically, these stories are just stories from hell, if you're looking at it just in terms of I have a goal and I want to accomplish it. But in fact, they're not. And the way you tell them is just so juicy, and it's so full of it's really juicy and full of little quirks. You do have your moments of doubt. There's one where on page 119 where you say, while we thought we had adapted to Sicilian culture by then, that's basically when you move here, right? Our constant frustration was evidence to the contrary. But that's about the only negative quote, negative, I mean, sort of slightly, not upbeat quote that I found. Everything else is just, let's say, here's a good example of what the conundrum is about Sicily, good, bad. On page 144, there's a bank incident. You're supposed to wire your money for the house, and basically a ton of things go wrong, not just one, right? And none of your fault. USA banks don't offer to resolve in a miraculous way, right? That's because the Italian bank in the end miraculously resolved the problem for you. I mean, right? And a US bank would never do that. But
no.
I suggest that it's because a US bank wouldn't create the problem in the first place, correct?
That is one way to look at it, yes.
That's my cynical way of looking at it. What about free healthcare? So there's this myth of Italian free healthcare, but it is free because it's so much less expensive than elsewhere, right? Is that correct?
Well, doctor visits are free, and they're not mean, and that's without insurance.
Yeah.
So to me, that's free. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And what about the drugs, treatment, and medicine?
Some prescriptions are free. Some are you have to pay, but it's minimal. They just don't have this like super expensive medical care like they do in the United States, where it's designed to be for profit, and here it's not, and that makes all the difference. So in the book I'm writing now, which is about my first year in Italy, I have now firsthand experience dealing with the public health system here, and so I do describe that in my current book. And yes, it's been a very, very good experience.
So your first book is Over the Sicilian Moon, and it was published in September of last year, 2020. What's you have a working title for your second book? Or
I think it just might be our first year in Sicily. It's just everything that's happened since we got here, and it's full of just as many crazy adventures as the book leading up to getting here.
Is it going to be full of resources, and will it be also like doubling as manual? So that's your style, right? There's okay. So that's it's just perfect. And are you planning to have it turned into an audiobook of some? I don't know how one goes about as an author to look into this, but I'm thinking about all the people who are into audiobooks, they
I hadn't thought about that, about audiobooks. I have thought that it'd be nice to have it translated into Italian. Yes. And I would love to have it be a movie, and Stanley Tucci could be in it.
Yeah, exactly.
Why not dream big, right?
We'll work on that, exactly, as we discussed. So let me just quickly translate this little this little all over the place introduction to our conversation in Italian. And the reason why I didn't do it before is also because I noticed that for some reason the live on YouTube is fine. The live on Facebook wasn't showing up. So I don't know if it's just my thing here or now it is. So I guess that maybe the first 10 minutes almost were. They're going to be there in the recording. They're just not they weren't showing up while we were talking for some reason. So so in Italian. Buon pomeriggio. Sono qui, Gabriella, nella mia discussione o per la mia discussione chiacchierata settimanale con una mia ospite che in questo caso è Barbara Palermo, un'americana che con suo marito si è trasferita dagli USA, dall'America, dall'Oregon a Taormina in Sicilia, dove ha ritrovato le radici lontane della sua famiglia. Un viaggio che è iniziato 17 anni fa e ha impiegato 16 anni per realizzarlo, dal momento in cui ha acquisito la cittadinanza al momento, cioè fino ad acquisire la cittadinanza e poi fare il primo viaggio in Sicilia, trovare, cercare i suoi parenti, incontrarli, trovare la sua casa del sogno, dei suoi sogni, che è una villa rosa. Tutti i link al suo libro, che ancora non è tradotto in italiano, ma come diceva un istante fa sarebbe felice di lavorare anche a questo progetto di traduzione, il bed and breakfast, in cui è stato trasformato questa villa, che è una fattoria volendo, e che aprirà a maggio il mese prossimo praticamente. Tutto questo, tutti questi link li trovate nella descrizione del video, sia su Facebook che su YouTube. Se avete delle domande, se vi chiedete come mai una persona voglia o possa volere lasciare gli Stati Uniti, soprattutto al momento della pensione, per venire a vivere in Sicilia, non esitate a porle anche qui dal vivo, anche dopo risponderemo comunque nei commenti. Grazie. La storia in breve è questa. Per caso su un autobus il marito di Barbara, che si chiama Barbie, il marito si chiama Ken, dunque Barbie e Ken, seduto accanto a un signore che parla di questa opportunità, di questa possibilità di acquistare la cittadinanza italiana, eccetera. E dunque inizia così una discussione a casa tra Barbara e Ken. Ma come mai? Ma chissà se forse anch'io. E riesce Barbara a trovare su quale binario andare ad indagare per ritrovare dei parenti di cui lei non sa nulla, non sa i nomi, non conosce il paese, il comune di origine, sa solo di avere i parenti, i nonni di origine siciliana, e dunque parte alla ricerca di queste origini e piano piano trova il filone giusto per acquisire la cittadinanza italiana. Su questo è cambiata un po' la legge, oggi stiamo parlando di 17 anni fa, comunque sia il suo libro è anche una specie di manuale per chiunque dall'America, con o senza origini siciliane, con o senza dunque acquisire la cittadinanza o fare questo cammino, ha questa idea di trasferirsi nel sud dell'Italia, perché anche se la Sicilia non è come il resto del sud dell'Italia, comunque dal punto di vista burocratico si assomigliano parecchio. E dunque questo è un manuale, però è una memoria, un ricordo. Barbara sta lavorando al suo secondo libro, dunque l'anno scorso è arrivata in Sicilia e ha scritto il libro e ora pubblicherà il suo secondo libro. Il primo libro si chiama Over the Sicilian Moon, che è un innamoramento con la Sicilia, per tradurlo così, e il secondo libro sarà semplicemente il primo anno in Sicilia. Lo stile di Barbara è veramente... è leggero, è bilanciato, equilibrato, il positivo col negativo, comunque questa passione, questo innamoramento e questa gratitudine per quello che ha trovato in Sicilia, tutto questo incantesimo, questo incantamento, questo incantesimo con la Sicilia traspare da ogni sua parola e vale la pena leggere. Dunque quando sarà tradotto in italiano, quando verrà tradotto, ci rivedremo magari qui e intanto parleremo anche del suo prossimo libro, che sicuramente sarà pubblicato da qui allora. Tanto continuo la conversazione e traduco un po' più spesso. So thank you for your patience. So the cappuccino, what's the story with the cappuccino? So you obviously discovered as well, like everyone else, that one should.
Not afternoon. Milk is for babies.
Milk is for babies, exactly. Yeah. We all get that. We all grow up with that, absolutely. And however, what I found funny is that, you know, when you deliver either surprising or more expected pieces of truth like this one, because we all went through it, right? There is always a little comment, a twist or a spin that you'll give to it. And so everything acquires dimensions and layers. It's just really, that's why I was saying it's juicy. You know, you said these are rules they adhere to religiously, talking about the cappuccino, right? Religiously, correct? Which surprises me, and I'm quoting you, given their blatant disregard for rules in general, all right? And so we're talking ignoring stop signs, not bothering with building permits, something that delayed your plans of acquiring your house by how long?
It took 2 years and 7 months.
2 years and 7 months. So you're ready. You're like, okay, we're buying the house and things should go relatively fast. In the normal case, it takes less than 6 months. And yours took 2 years and 7 months. Yeah.
Yes.
That's a warning, everyone. Okay. Make sure you check incredible things that you didn't even know existed.
Yes.
And the professionals that are supposed to have your back need to be checked themselves as well. So the checker checks the checker checking. But anyway, so, avoiding taxes whenever possible. All right. So there's the good, there's the bad. But in this case, the aspect that I found so funny is the the juxtaposition of certain rules which they really defend with passion, such as the cappuccino, and others that you would think are basic acquired civil, civil rules and civil manners to maintain and so forth, and they're just totally disregarded. What about parking? What did you think about parking?
What do I think about parking? Parking here is not parking. Parking here is squeezing your car in any possible way, in any possible place. It's amazing. It's amazing. I am amazed where you can squeeze a car into here.
Okay, an example would be, except for the typical sidewalk on the street.
Oh, sure. Not even parallel, but sticking out or in the middle of the road or this close to another car, or I mean, it's endless. It's very entertaining. Yes, I bought a little tiny smart car so that I feel a little better about that because, boy.
So at some point you send yourself a postcard because you want to check if mailbox, which you could finally install, but you couldn't before until then your house didn't have an address. It just sort of like didn't.
It still doesn't.
Oh, it still doesn't. Okay,
no.
So you're but you didn't. You were a little more optimistic at the time, right? So you put up
yes, we had been told if you put up a letterbox with your name, that the mail person might come. So we tried it, and then we sent ourselves a postcard from Taormina, which is very close to here, and of course it didn't arrive ever still. So we were very successful in most things that we have tried to do, but getting mail was not one of them. We still can't get mail. It has to go to our friend's house in another town, and she brings it to me.
Amazing. So what about Amazon and orders and things like that? Same.
Goes to my friend's house.
Okay, until you can locate the local Amazon driver, get his cell phone, and sort of, give
him some cannoli and make a friend and get to know him. The problem is Amazon uses a whole bunch of different private companies.
It's true.
For that final delivery.
It's true.
I have to make friends with all of them.
That's definitely that's for the next chapter. Right? It's like,
yes, exactly.
I'll get there. I have other priorities such as electricity, water, heating, and no fires on my property from the neighboring farmers. No. What's the habit in the countryside in Sicily that farmers?
Oh, they love to burn stuff. Just scary. Not necessarily on a non-windy day either.
Yeah.
We did have an incident here, and I met the fire department, and that's a very funny story in my book. It's one of my favorite stories.
Mine too. Yeah.
Meeting the fire department.
Meeting the fire department because the hill your farm is located on is basically it's going up in smoke.
Yes.
I'm laughing, but
olive trees are exploding before our very eyes. Yeah. Very scary.
Because you're reading, reading your book is, there's just no way to, you convey the panic and the fear and the worry and the anxiety and the doubts when they're, substantiated. You convey all of that very well, but at the same time, you just keep it so witty all the time. So at some point, there's one of your many plumbing dramas because obviously the water tank, which needs to be installed really quickly because the previous one is like gone, it's no longer working. So there's like a quick fix situation, and then that needs to be fixed a little later on, and then the fixing needs to be refixed. So it's really that this constant. And so what I found hilarious at some point on page 154, some things are the same no matter where you are in the world, like plumber's butt. Where are you? Where are you when you're? Where are you physically in this time when this thought crosses your mind? This observation.
I'm in my bedroom, which is up high, and I'm looking down the driveway at the workers, and there's plumber's butt everywhere, and there still is because we're still having work done on the farm. So it's just a normal view now is to see the cracks of the workers behind. They're quite tan and charming. But you see that in America too. I'm sure you see a plumber's butt everywhere you go.
Yeah. Except that you don't expect to be seeing them that often, right? Or that much of.
Well, I've never had this much work to be done either, so.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, you're right. It's a farm, so that. But it was already in good shape. It wasn't one of those beautiful romantic ruins that people fall in love with until someone, pulls them by the sleeve and sort of goes, "Wake up, wake up."
The farm had been neglected for 20 years. It was covered in brambles and crumbling walls, and it needed a lot of work.
I'm going to quickly translate this into Italian, just for anyone who might be interested on our Sicilian side. La fattoria in cui abitano Barbara e Ken è stata abbandonata o quantomeno non curata per più di 20 anni, e anche se non si trattava di una rovina, questa casa, una classica rovina romantica di cui ci si può innamorare, però che ti riduce poi a pezzi in termini di percorso, di ricostruzione, eccetera. La casa comunque ha avuto bisogno di tanti lavori, e malgrado abbiano iniziato i lavori tanti anni prima di venire a vivere qui, perché tornando ogni anno in Sicilia per tanti anni, piano piano hanno fatto progresso su quello che era alla fine diventato un sogno anche molto dettagliato, per cui Barbara aveva creato dei dream board, dei vision board, che sono delle tavole in cui a modi quasi di collage, insomma, vai incollando ritagli di giornale, riviste o quant'altro, in qualsiasi cosa vai scrivendo, eccetera, per memoria, che rende più tangibile la fisicalità, insomma, di quello che diventerà poi la tua casa. Insomma, quando hai le idee chiare devi cominciare a mettere giù queste idee per renderle più tangibili, più visibili, e ciò aiuta molto anche nel fare progresso. Dunque, malgrado tutto ciò, veramente poi nel libro ci sono dei dettagli su questi vision board, e siccome non bastavano, a un certo punto hanno cominciato con suo marito, perché tra l'altro poi il tempo te lo devi far passare perché ci sono tanti ritardi lato italiano, e dunque non puoi tornare se non si sono risolte delle cose, in attesa che si risolvano l'acqua, l'elettricità, la luce, tutte queste cose che devono funzionare ma non funzionano mai, non arriva mai l'allaccio e il contatore, poi arriva però lo tolgono e poi scompare e poi insomma, un macello. Dunque intanto il farsi passare il tempo giocando anche con le bamboline, quelle di carta, che chi come me non è forse più tanto fresco, si ricorda ancora dall'infanzia, che sono queste bamboline di carta con i vestiti di carta, con un modo per insomma fare tenere su queste figurine di carta questi loro vestiti e cambiarli. È una cosa particolarmente interessante per le bambine, le bambole di carta. E dunque loro hanno cominciato a fare delle bambole di carta, ma di questi futuri turisti clienti del loro futuro bed and breakfast, e ancora non sono proprietari della casa, tutto va storto, invece di passare 6 mesi passano tipo 3 anni, eccetera, eccetera. Insomma, e loro intanto aggiungono a questo vision board anche questo elemento ancora più realistico e più fisico di queste dei turisti tedeschi. Lui si chiama Ansel, lei si chiama Ludmilla, e disegnano come sarà questo terrazzo con i mobili, insomma, tutte queste cose qua. E dunque è molto divertente il libro, è pieno di di storielle di questo tipo. Non vedo l'ora che venga tradotto in italiano, anche per dare la possibilità a chi se ne vuole sempre andare dalla Sicilia, ovviamente giustificatamente, anche di vedere cosa significa per qualcuno che vuole venire in Sicilia dall'America, fare questo passo. E dunque ecco, thank you. So you fall in love with Sicily. You know you're going to have a farm. You know you're going to have a B&B. You know you're going to have animals. You know you're going to have 2 goats. I mean, there's something about this amazing ability that you have to very quickly, I mean, once an idea sets in, to, for yourself, flesh it out in detail and then sort of hound down, you know, the realization and whatever it takes to realize every single part of that picture. It's a tenacity, it's a determination. What else would you call it? What have people commented on that? Have people told you their impressions?
Yes, people say I'm like a pit bull with a bone when I have an idea and there's just no stopping me. And as discouraging as it was sometimes, it just almost makes me more determined to do it, to reach my goal. I did watch a TED Talk once, and it was a young girl who had met her goal of running, a clothing store in New York, a whole design of clothing for her people her age. And she was very young, and everyone said she was crazy, but she succeeded. And anyway, in her talk, she says it's very, very important to visualize. And she gave me the idea of creating the vision board. And she said, the more detail, the better. So we went so far as to pre-name our animals before we moved here and had the animals. We pre-shopped for our cars in our mind. We pre-decorated the house in our mind. We wanted to be able to, not only is it fun and it's positive envisioning, but it helps so that when we did finally arrive, we could hit the ground running because we had so much time to plan and think about it.
So the timeline, once again, 2004, you hear about the possibility of acquiring Italian citizenship. And then by 2010, you're a citizen, but your husband still isn't.
2011, I got citizenship.
Okay.
Sorry. Once I was finally an Italian citizen, only then could my husband apply because his was based on marriage to an Italian.
Yep.
So, of course, it takes some time to gather all the documents, and then oftentimes they lose the documents and you have to resend them or something goes haywire, causing you to have to repeat your steps. So there's a lot of time involved, and then you wait for the approval, and we finally got it. Yeah. So I would say altogether, let's see, I applied in 2006, got it in 2011, and he applied in 2012, got it in 2019.
Oh gosh, 7 years.
Yeah. Long time to get citizenship.
Yeah.
But while that was happening, of course, we had all these other things in the works.
The other things were you found your house. What year was it again?
House.
Yeah. What year?
We finally purchased the house in 2018. But it took a couple years. It took over 2 years. There was all kinds of problems. We got an Italian mortgage, and they discovered that there was some ancient wording on the deed that had to be changed. And of course, nobody knew how to make that change. So it took a while. But it got done. I mean, it has a happy ending. We're here.
It has a happy ending.
It has a happy ending.
It has a very good happy ending. If you were to do the same move as a Sicilian to America, let's say you're dreaming of America. You were there at some point. You felt included. You felt solidarity. You felt like you had met your tribe. For some reason, that's where you feel at home. And you decide to move there, and you're going to start a homestead in Oregon. Do you think it would take someone So how long did it take you from the moment you knew you were going to want to move to Sicily to actually move? So you moved in 2020, but in the middle of the pandemic, which we definitely want to talk about. But how long before that did you actually decide, I am moving to Sicily? We are moving.
It was a 5-year plan. 5-year plan. We're going to move to Sicily, in 5 years, and we did.
But you could have moved to Sicily. Well, you couldn't have moved sooner because of retirement, etc. But let's say that if you didn't have to wait for you to retire, etc., would you have been able to move before? No, it would not have been possible anyway, right? Because of how long.
Everything takes forever, and I think that it does. It took every bit of that 5 years to make it happen. And every day, like I said, every single day we did something toward that goal. It was a lot of determination and motivation to do that.
Well,
I mean,
yes.
5 years is not a lot of time for planning a move from scratch to another country.
Okay. Okay. But do you think that someone from here who would plan a move to America would take 5 years on the American side?
I never thought about it going the other direction. I think it depends on how much you know about how to navigate. If you understand how things work and you know how to navigate it and you know what to expect, I think you can do it much faster. Although I will say getting utilities in America would be a whole lot easier
Yes,
than getting utilities here. Yeah.
Yeah, because the utilities here, the multiple tragedies about the utilities, not only set you back in terms of really years, but they also set you back in terms of energy. There were moments where that's when you felt the lowest, correct?
Yes. Yes.
Because these are also things that go straight to your planning your next trip. You can't keep moving to a place where you don't have water, have no electricity, or had it, and paid for it, and all of that money down the drain because for some reason, I mean, read the book.
Yeah, so frustrating. Yeah. And it continues to be a problem with utility companies here.
I didn't dare ask because I know.
Okay.
I really know.
I'm sure you do.
Oh my goodness. And so you're you can say you realized your dream, right? You have your chicken, your donkey, 2 goats, the cats, the dogs. What other animals do you?
I think that's it. 5 chickens, 2 dogs, 2 cats, a pregnant donkey, so soon to be 2 donkeys.
Oh yes, tell us about the donkeys.
2 goats.
What happened? Why is the donkey pregnant? As an American, you're very sensitive to, I guess, not the random reproduction of pets or farm animals, I suppose, right?
Well, our farm is not so big. It's only maybe 2.5, 3 acres. And we only have so much money. So we wanted a small hobby farm, not a big, huge farm with lots of animals. But we did always want a Sardinian donkey, a traditional miniature donkey. That was part of the dream. And we had named her ahead of time. We knew years ago that we were going to get a Sardinian donkey and her name would be Gina Lola Brigida. So we made arrangements through a friend of a friend, third party, to get a donkey. And we were told that she was young, 18 months old, and hadn't been around any male donkeys and had never given birth. But she got sick, so we had to call the vet. And the vet came out and said that we were told wrong. She's 5 or 6 years old. She's given birth once, and she's pregnant, going to give birth again this spring. So that was quite a shock. And my first reaction was, oh my gosh, what am I going to do with all that poo? It's amazing how much poo 1 donkey generates. I can't imagine 2. My husband was excited. My husband was jumping for joy. We're going to have a baby donkey. So anyway, we decided, of course, to keep it. And we will keep the baby, and now we're excited about it. And so come May, I think, we will have a little baby donkey.
A baby donkey. And you're going to call the baby Donkey. So Gina is
If
the
it's
mom.
a Gina, if it's a girl, it'll be Lola, and if it's a boy, it'll be Lolo.
Hey, how goody. Are you going to throw a big party? Are you going to throw a big
Well,
party?
it depends on COVID, but we would love to throw a big party, yes.
Yes. So you're moving in the middle of the pandemic last year, and that's because
Yes.
you really don't know when else you'd be able to move, if not now, when. That's pretty much the, right?
Right. We had sold well, when COVID happened, we decided, okay, we have two choices. We either rush things, hurry things up, and try to get ahead of this crisis. Because, I mean, we didn't know how big of a crisis it was going to end up being. So it's like, do we just hurry up and try to get in front of it, or do we wait and see what happens, and maybe it'll get better, and then we'll pursue our plans. We decided to just go for it.
Mm-hmm. And then at some point you've sold your house, but your house in Sicily is not yet, you can't yet get to your house in Sicily, correct?
We sold our house in America. We retired from our jobs, but there was no travel. There was COVID situation big time in both countries, and we were just kind of stuck, homeless. We ended up staying with friends for a few months on a farm in Oregon, just waiting, living out of a suitcase, waiting for the day we could come to our house that we knew was here waiting for us and start our dream life.
And that you had spent the last 5 years working
planning,
on.
yes.
And working on, because the stories of how you're toiling, physically toiling. I mean, I think that anyone who wants to lose some weight and wants to do a work vacation type of thing should apply to come spend some time with you. Because I think within 2 weeks, I mean, unless they're like you, who somehow strangely put on weight, right? But your husband lost weight, and your stories of how you're toiling on the farm, and how even with you sweating from morning to evening, day after day after day after day after day after day after day, it's still not enough, and you still have to hire help, of course, etc. So anyone, I think, who wants to become a B&B guest and enjoy your B&B, is, depending on what COVID allows us to do, right, is welcome to join you starting in May next month. And
well, we'll see.
anyone who wants to do a work vacation is probably welcome as well, in somewhere or other.
Absolutely, we can do a work away. We'll you can stay here. I'll feed you. I love to cook, and there's always work to do on the farm. You can pitch in and help.
So we're going to be talking about, I'm going to be talking about this possibility to gifted people I know who are really gifted in terms of, they live in Milan, and they're like the best type of electrician you could, like electrical you could ever find. So if there's any tiny little things that keep bugging, he would be the person. I'm going to spread the voice, but obviously not people whose work wouldn't be worth you housing them and feeding them, of course. All right, so I guess that you gave us a pretty good idea in words of what it is that that your book is about. I enjoyed it so much that I have so many more notes that I'd like to share. How you learned to play Sicilian card games, which you didn't play once ever since you moved here. That's in Oregon.
Not yet, no.
That's in Oregon while you're waiting to move, and you can't because of COVID. When you finally landed here last year, right, and you could finally get and relax into this new life and this new reality, what was the most relieving thing that you really felt? What was the most burdensome part of this whole adventure that finally you felt falling off your shoulders? What was the burden that you most enjoyed freeing yourself of?
Just that we didn't have to go back. I mean, we had come every year for 5 years during our planning stage, and we'd do as much as we could on the farm, and then we'd have to go back. It was a 3-week vacation. That's all we could get time off work. And so when we hit that 3-week mark here and realized we don't have to go back, we don't ever have to go back, that was amazing. It was just amazing. This is not a vacation. This is our life. And I think that's when reality hit. Yeah.
That you describe very nicely in the book, and you talk about a cocktail which you devised around, which in itself sums up this feeling. I find it captures this feeling, and it's this Sicilian sunrise, and I think we're all going to be trying to do this after reading what. Do you mind sharing it again with our audience?
No, I came up with this concoction. I don't even know how, but there's just nothing more refreshing than what I call a Sicilian sunrise on a warm afternoon. So you take limoncello, you pour it over ice, you add, there's your yellow color in the glass, and then you need some orange for the sunrise. So either San Pellegrino blood orange soda, or if you have fresh squeezed blood orange juice, that's good too. So you put in some of that, and then now you need the red to finish off your sunset. So a splash of pomegranate juice works nicely. So you've now got your yellow, your orange, and your red, and you mix it all up with a sprig of fresh rosemary from the garden. And it is a fabulous drink, and I called it a Sicilian sunrise.
Yay! So limoncello, blood orange, and pomegranate, and the rosemary sprig, and
don't forget rosemary, yes.
And a terrace preferably overlooking the Alcantara Valley near Taormina, which for those who don't know Sicily, Taormina is definitely the most open to the world place in Sicily, right? It is the place that most foreigners have visited for hundreds of years. And it is a very, very romantic place, and also full of cultural life and activities and international gatherings. Cinema, theater, you name it. So thank you very, very much. This is just great. I mean, this book is I've been trying to find words to best express it, but because it's so unique, it's really, I mean, I don't know. It's just like a person. Like, you are unique. You are your own self. I mean, you translate you and your uniqueness. And at the same time, standard knowledge that anyone should have about this adventure which you went through. So you managed to really combine, like a nice tale and the good rhythm of how the events unfold, with the positive, with the negative, with the funny, witty spin. And I mean, it's just wonderful. It's a wonderful read. I know I'm
glad you enjoyed it.
I've repeated myself too much, but I'm a fan. So, and I read it over maybe less than a week ago. So I thought I'd cool my enthusiasm and be a little more rational about it, but not, maybe because I feel that, I'm not alone. Someone else.
Right. You can relate for sure, living in Sicily much longer than I have.
Well, we'll talk about that later when the second book comes out. There's the first year, and then there's the second year, and then
we'll see. But I did have fun writing the book and telling the story, and I think that hopefully it will inspire and encourage others.
Yes, definitely, and hopefully someone will pick it up, because it'd be really, I mean, it's a really good script as well. I mean, good material for a script. I mean, and I think everyone who's constantly dreaming about an exotic move and so forth will enjoy it. Will enjoy it for all the right reasons, and the surprises. Thank you very much for spending this time with us. If you'd like, you can hang out and hear some more while I translate it into Italian, or you could say goodbye if you have to go take care of anything. Let me know.
I'll listen. I love hearing you speak Italian. I wish I could.
Oh, thank you. You'll get there. You'll get there.
I'm trying.
Yeah, you'll get there. Yeah. More immersion, less of your mind dedicated to all the things that you need to do, and more of that space to, the kind of space that you're currently occupying with all the chores.
Exactly.
Right.
Yes,
and the goals you need to meet, and the deadlines, the self-imposed ones, and the not so self-imposed ones. So, Barbara ci ha raccontato di questo cocktail meraviglioso che ha sviluppato quando, alla fine di questa lunga avventura di trasferimento suo e di suo marito dall'America in Sicilia, il più grosso peso che si sono tolti è stato proprio quello di realizzare che per una volta non dovevano tornare più in America, perché prima di questo per 5 anni erano venuti ogni anno, e questa visita ogni anno era diventata, dopo la prima di ricognizione, era diventata poi una visita di lavoro. Una volta vista la casa da acquistare, presi gli impegni relativi, venivano qui a passare le uniche 3 settimane che un americano impiegato riceve di vacanze all'anno, le venivano a passare qui in Sicilia, avendo meticolosamente organizzato ogni singola attività da svolgere per fare progresso e spingere avanti sia dal punto di vista burocratico che dal punto di vista fisico, di ristrutturazione di questa casa e di creazione di questo futuro bed and breakfast con questa mini fattoria. Insomma, per loro il peso più grande tolto è stato quello di realizzare l'anno scorso, quando a primavera, inizio estate anzi del 2020, quando durante la pandemia hanno visto la possibilità di infilarsi in un aereo e venire qui non sapendo se questa occasione si fosse poi ripresentata, avendo venduto la loro casa già in America, vivendo da amici in questa specie di momento sospeso, non sapendo quando potevano venire, insomma arrivano in Sicilia finalmente, eccetera, eccetera. La prima cosa è, ora non dobbiamo più tornare, non siamo qui per 3 settimane. Ciò non toglie che hanno lavorato sodo e continuano a lavorare sodo, e questo cocktail che benissimo caratterizza o epitomizza questo sentimento è questo Sicilian Sunrise, questo cocktail che nei suoi colori riprende i colori del tramonto siciliano, questo è il nome del cocktail. Dunque il mix che ci rivela è il seguente: limoncello per il colore giallo su ghiaccio, la spremuta di un'arancia preferibilmente sanguigna per il colore arancione, e poi succo di melograno per il colore rosso, e il tutto completato con un ramoscello di rosmarino che è essenziale. E questo possibilmente sorseggiato sul terrazzo di un bed and breakfast di colore rosa che si apre sulla valle dell'Alcantara a 1,2 chilometri da Taormina. Ecco, questa è la ricetta della felicità. Ma intanto la loro avventura continua. Il bed and breakfast teoricamente apre a maggio, però tutto dipende ora dal Covid e dalle restrizioni di viaggio. Sono aperti anche a ricevere persone che possano con il loro talento contribuire a risolvere certe ultime problematiche di vario tipo legate pragmatiche, legate all'apertura dello spazio, dunque al giusto funzionamento di ogni cosa, in cambio di vitto e alloggio. Ovviamente persone molto qualificate, è giusto, non che si avvantaggino, che approfittino di questa opportunità. E loro sono felici di questa nuova vita, Barbara e Ken, e questa loro felicità e questo loro innamoramento tra di loro da coppia e della Sicilia e della gente siciliana che hanno incontrato qui. Traspare veramente in ogni pagina del libro. Vediamo di incoraggiarli, vediamo di aiutarli, vediamo di fare in modo che questo libro venga tradotto, arrivi nelle mani giuste, e se conoscete voi persone che parlano inglese, di lingua inglese, consigliategli questo libro. Barbara non è un'autrice professionale, non è una giornalista, è una persona che ha scritto benissimo tutto quello che è l'avventura e tutto quello che sono state poi anche le sue sensazioni e i suoi sentimenti riguardo a questo progetto e a questo passo e a questa nuova vita che hanno appena inaugurato. Grazie dell'ascolto e arrivederci a tutti. Ciao Barbara, thank you again.
Ciao, grazie.
Ciao.
Bye bye.
Bye.